What is up, guys? Today we've got the LG V60 versus the S21 Ultra. Let's go ahead and get into it. Two premium flagship devices here. So the V60 is very cheap these days. You can get one for around 300 bucks refurbished like this one. I'll have the link down below. Or you can get a brand new one for around 400 bucks, but the dual screen case is sold separately. S21 Ultra is the big boy pretty much this year. One of the best Android phones you can get pretty much. And it's going to set you back $750 refurbished like this one, or brand new, so it'll be around $1,000 pretty much still. Alright, so hardware wise, they're both premium designs, both glass and metal designs. S21 Ultra does have a matte finish, which I really like. V60 does have kind of like a glossy finish, but the color choices that they pick with this, you don't really see fingerprints like that. And as far as the weight and height here, the V60 is actually taller than the S21 Ultra. I didn't think, yeah. So the V60, people don't believe me. This is a massive phone, but the S21 is definitely heavier, and you guys can see the button layout here. Boom. Down below, we do have a 3.5mm headphone jack with a quad DAC. So if you're somebody that has a really great pair of headphones, you're going to get a better audio experience on the V60. S21 Ultra does not, and they both have stereo speakers and both IP68 dust and water resistant. So let's go ahead and talk about the displays on both of these devices here. So the V60 does have a 6.8-inch POLED display. It's HDR10 plus 1080p 395 for the PPI. S21, it does have a 6.8-inch display as well, so same exact size. And then it's a 2K display, a 1440p display, 515 for the PPI with 120 Hz, and that is dynamic AMOLED. Basically, I think it's pretty safe to say that the S21 Ultra does have the better display here. It's got slimmer bezels, it's got the punch hole instead of the water drop notch that the V60 has. And color-wise, they pretty much seem to be on par with color. I really don't see a big difference. Sometimes these displays are more saturated, but they look honestly the same to me. Surprisingly, they both get really bright as well, which is something that I like. But the thing that is really making the S21 Ultra the better display here is going to be this 120 Hz. Now, I know some people say it's not a big deal, but I think those are mostly people who have never used a high refresh rate. You do notice a difference, and I would say it's very hard to go back. So if you go from 60 Hz, well, if you go from 120 Hz to back to a 60 Hz display, I think you'll kind of be feeling like you're lacking something, because it's not that it's making the phone like faster, it's giving you the feeling of it being faster. So when I'm scrolling like this, it just feels extremely liquid smooth. But the V60 scrolls, just super fast. It scrolls awesome. But again, 120 Hz is to me kind of a big deal. So it's kind of like a must-have thing. But it also depends on the person. But yeah, so I think the S21 Ultra definitely has the better display here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Geekbench scores here. We can see that we do get a better score, of course, on the S21 Ultra. But really, if you look at the multi-core scores, they're extremely close to each other. So let's go ahead and talk about the specs a little bit more. S21 Ultra, Android 11, One UI, Snapdragon 888, Adreno 660, no SD card support, 256 gigs of internal storage, 12 gigs of RAM on this version. Then the V60 is running Android 11, the Snapdragon 865, Adreno 650 micro SD support, so that is also another bonus. And then we have 256 gigs of RAM, or 128 gigs of RAM with 8 gigs of RAM. If you get into a little app opening test here, I don't think we really will see that big of a difference, but yeah, so there's not going to be a real big difference between the 865 and the 888. Oh man, that looked like a tie, and it kind of looked like the V60 kind of got in there first. S21. Yeah, so these are too close to, in terms of speed. So if you're looking for like a speed upgrade, it's just not going to be there. What I would say is the only thing you'll feel again is that 120 hertz. Anything else, like as far as opening applications and as far as gaming, as we're gonna see, there's not gonna be an actual realistic difference here. They're both they're just too close to each other in terms of opening applications and overall just smoothness. Let's go ahead and launch PUBG here. We might see a difference in loading up heavier applications. Let's see. Alright guys, so we've got PUBG in here, and here's an interesting thing about the gaming situation. So you have pretty much the same settings. As you can see, you can go up to Ultra HD, you know, extreme FPS all the way through. So, you know, essentially the same graphics settings here, but with the V60 does have the capability of having a dual screen, and the games that are compatible with dual screen, it makes your gaming experience better. Like Asphalt, you can be playing Asphalt down here, you see the map. I think PUBG is also compatible. Yeah, so there are games that will just give you a better experience on the V60. So yeah, so I would say the V60 kind of has the edge in the gaming department just because of that dual screen case capability. Because honestly, they both play the same. I have gaming tests on both of these. I don't have any issues with overheating on these two particular phones, you know, either. So game experience is great, but I would give the edge to the V60 there. Let's talk about additional features and getting into your phone. The V60 has the under the display fingerprint sensor, and to be honest, it's not as fast as the S21 Ultras. It's perfectly accurate, it works, it's just not as fast. You kind of have to hold it a little bit longer. And as far as additional features, like I said, the dual screen case is a big deal with the V60. Also, the quad DAC on here as well. Both of these phones have NFC, screen sharing, screen recording. You do have that on the V60 as well. And with the S21 Ultra, you do get a little bit, you know, more on here, depending on what more, you know, counts to you. So you do get under the display fingerprint sensor, but this phone also has face unlock as well, which is something the V60 lacks. So that has always been unfortunate to me. You also have screen recording on here. You also have the Samsung desktop experience. I think that's a pretty big one. And you also have secure folders. NFC is on here, and also your wireless power sharing on here too, which is pretty nice. If I could pull it up here. Just be able to charge, you know, another device. You can see got the V60 charging. So that is always a nice little feature to have. Let's go ahead and see which phone has the better speakers. Both max volume, Dolby Atmos on. Ah man, that is extremely close. Let me know what you guys think. This is, yeah, that's just way too close. They almost, yeah, it's just way too close. They both sound great. They both have the same loudness and volume. Both kind of have the same bass quality. Overall, as far as the better audio device, it would still have to be the V60s. If they're both tied, the V60 does have a 3.5mm headphone jack with the quad DAC, so I would give it the win there. But as far as speaker quality by itself, they kind of just sound the same. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the cameras here. So you do get quite different camera setups here. So with the S21 Ultra, it's a 108 megapixel main lens, so images just come out extremely detailed on this camera. You get a 10 megapixel periscope telephoto camera that does 10x, and then you have a 10 megapixel telephoto lens that also does 3x optical zoom, and it goes even all the way up to 100x zoom, which is pretty crazy. And the 12 megapixel ultra wide does act as a macro camera as well. You also have 8K video at 24 frames, and then a 40 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60 as well. So the images are just really great on the S21 Ultra. I wouldn't say it's like a major step up for like a casual shooter, unless you like to do a lot of zoom shots and stuff like that, which this phone really will force you to do a lot of zoom shots just because it's just really fun to do. But yeah, so I really like the S21 Ultra's cameras. Yes, I do think it's slightly better than the V60's cameras, definitely. But speaking of the V60, you also have a very good camera setup. It's a 64 megapixel standard, 13 megapixel ultra wide with a 0.3 depth sensor. You will also get 8K video on the V60 as well at 30 frames, and then a 10 megapixel selfie 4K 30 frames. V60 takes some very good shots, and I would say the strong point with the V60's cameras is definitely color accuracy. It gets very accurate in terms of color, which is something that I really like. The S21 Ultra sometimes can oversaturate images, but yeah, so it just takes very good shots. And again, at this price point, it takes very competitive shots with the S21 Ultra to me. So then again, that's something you have to consider. It's much cheaper and it's taking very close shots to the S21 Ultra. But yeah, so excellent cameras on both of these guys. You really can't go wrong. But if you want the better one, obviously S21 Ultra. Alright, so next we do have battery life. So what is the battery life experience like on both of these phones? It is absolutely an excellent experience. Both of these phones actually have a 5,000 milliamp battery, so they're just, massive phones when it comes to batteries. You do have 25-watt charging on the S21 Ultra with wireless charging at 15 watts and reverse wireless charging. The V60 also has wireless charging as well, and it doesn't have reverse wireless charging though. But battery life experience is just so good on these phones. So these are phones that are extremely dependable if you go out for a long day. These are phones that you really don't have to worry about your phone draining. So battery life is excellent. You can easily get all day battery life, if not a day and a half, on both of these phones if you're a lighter user. So which one would you guys go with? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.